G'day RC pilots, Kiwi Craig here. Just rushed home this evening to find the new Eachine E200 waiting for me. A little bit of intrepidation when I see some holes in the packaging, whopping big hole punched in the end. And I'm sort of going, oh boy, I hope things are all okay inside. Got on the Banggood guys, wrapped it in foam. It's all looking okay. Box has taken a big hit. It's actually punched clean through the cardboard there. Hopefully Hallie's okay. It's taken a good punt in the end of the box as well. Anyway, pop the seal. All right, usual manuals. That's all good stuff. Pop those there. Oh, blimey, it's actually punched the packaging clean down and exposed the tail LED there. Oh boy, okay. You can see the hole it's whacked in the box too. All right. Okay, everything's looking good. Looks like this actually real high density expanded foam packaging really does a good job protecting things. Good old postal service fee gave the box a hiding, but everything's looking good inside. The charger unit, spare battery pack. Now we also know it's got a battery pack clipped in it as well. We will come back to the battery pack, so I'll actually be disassembling those in a future video so we can have a look inside, understand how all this stuff works better. The balance type charger. Good old E6 radios, nice little radios these. We'll jump into that and see what all the settings are on that as well. The spare parts pack, spare blades, spare tail blade, tools, etc. That's all good. Ooh, the helicopter, let's just get this helicopter out and have a good look at it. Blimey, it's actually it's really heavy. Oh, I'm stunned by how heavy this is. Crikey. All right. Okay, let's just take in all the lovely detail that's presented on this. My, oh my, oh my. Man, this is a true scale helicopter. Look at all the riveting bits and bobs. Tail plane detail. Rotor, top LED, the flyer unit which lights up, the baffled engine details, engine intakes, LEDs and fuselage, nice big nose spotlight. Alright, wipers, crew handrail grips. My. This is really delivering a lot of lovely detail work here on this machine. Yeah, one of the more interesting things is we do note is the suspension system works. The wheels we know go up and down. They compress right up, full up to the fuselage. It's like a oleo strut. The front piece is purely a decoration piece. It actually scissors on the stub axle as it goes up and down, so it all moves nicely. We also have sliding doors and other bits and pieces. As we said, the suspension legs are fully working with an oleo strut. Got a lot of travel in this, probably 15 mils to 20 mils of travel. And the tyre has got a bit of squish in it too, so that's also going to help absorb landing loads. Overall, quite a nice setup. The strut's pretty beefy and ties up solidly into the main chassis inside the helicopter. So a good detail overall. One thing I do like about the Eachine direct drive setup on all their direct drive helis to date is The motor and drive shaft are separable at a coupling joint, unlike some of the competition where the drive shaft goes right through the motor as well, which is then a real bugbear to pull the drive shaft out if you are unfortunate enough to have a blade strike and damage the drive shaft. On the Eachine it's dead simple, just let the coupling go, pull the shaft up out the top without actually having to disassemble anything else out of the helicopter. Real bonus for a scale helicopter. Don't have to pull all the body to bits to get the drive shaft out. Good idea overall. Access to the flybar control unit is through this removable top cowl, 2 little screws in the sides. Then you just give it a squeeze and it just pops out. There we have our flybarless unit, our little gain pots. The bind button is in the top right corner, just tucked away. You can just get it in on a slight angle, plus plugins for both S-Bus and DSMX receivers. I think there's probably enough room to put the DSMX satellite up on the underside of the covering cowl, or you possibly could drop it in the gap between the rear of the flybarless unit and the front servo. Yeah, so nice easy access into the unit here, and you just pops back into place. Job done. Let's have a look at the rotor head assembly. This is actually a very nice piece of design here, a lot of very good details. The rotor head itself is an aluminum block. It's a rigid setup, that is, the feathering shafts screw directly into the aluminium block and there is no dampening bush. Rigid setups, quite common, scale helicopters, K123, K124 uses the same sort of system. Oxy helis used a rigid setup in there, 3 cubed heads on the Oxy 3 as well. The blade grips are done in a fibre reinforced plastic, and you can look at these blade grips and they are pretty chunky in their profile, and you can see the connection to the direct follower arm also quite beefy and braced. The follower arm also is beefy, drops down, connects to the swash. So we've got a very strong system here that is able to precisely transfer flight commands from the blade grip, swash, from the servos, etc. One of the issues with rigid heads, DFC links, etc. is that in a blade strike you telegraph a lot of the forces straight down into the servos and bang your servos out. What they've done in this situation is the lower section of the swash is a beefy injection molded plastic part, so that under a hard blade grip, blade strike situation, there is some dampening on the arms before telegraphing down to the servos. The servo link arms are also pretty beefy. Get this into shot, you can see here they've done a good job on that. So, and the dog bone coming up is nice and strong as well. It's all a lot heavier duty than the E180 setup. This is a lot beefier again. So in order to give something somewhere that has a bit of flex or give under a blade strike, they've designed that into the swash arms, which is quite nice really. We know that this helicopter flies with a lot of precision from the other videos, but equally a lot of thought's gone into the design of the rotor head, both for precise flight and ability to absorb a blade strike should it occur. So well done to the designers on all these details. Not a lot to say about the direct drive motor in this point in time. 40006 engine, draws cooling air through the bottom of the fuselage, pushing it over the windings. Often a problem with fully enclosed body scale helicopters is electric motor heat build up and lack of cooling. You can also fly with the doors open if you're in a really hot environment, but not much else we can say about the motor at this stage. Testing will soon show its performance levels, but other videos seem to indicate pretty powerful drive line overall. Tail motor, usual direct drive brushless with bolted on tail blade. Some people have asked why didn't they come with a 4-blade blade. The factory was a little bit worried under aggressive flying that this may cause heat problems. Cheng and Hong Kong has been testing just as normal drone 4-blade unit, and for scale flying no problems. I'll investigate that a little bit further, and we have asked the factory to consider offering that as a scale part in addition to the standard 2-blade unit. The ready to fly radio is the familiar Eachine E6 computerized, fully programmable transmitter. On the top left here we have linear throttle and or idle up. Idle up on this is set at 70%. The factory setting for the linear is 0 to 65, so it jumps up to 65% at 20% throttle. So as you coming up, then we get 65 at the 20% position, and then thereafter right up to full pitch and down again. We're at 65, come through the neutral, then we just wind down for landing. Pitch in that setting is not much negative, so it goes 45, 50 being neutral, 50, then 68, and then 75. On that setting. On idle up, you go from 15 through 85 with 50 at the neutral, so you got a plus minus 35 range across there. Should make for quite agile flying. High low rates switch, down for high rate, up for low rate. The factory setting on low rate is 80%. Throttle hold, self-explanatory what that does. I did jump into the radio to see what Expo settings the factory had set in there, and currently Expo is set at 0. So if you want a softer flight envelope or feeling of the sticks around mid-stick, then it's very easy to just dial on some Expo to tailor the feel of the helicopter to your requirements. Overall, these are a good little radio, and we will fly well on this, I am sure. Okay, binding the helicopter is pretty simple. Power on the radio. I always like to put throttle hold on, but not essential. Go to the battery, hold down the power switch until it beeps. It's now into bind mode. Set the helicopter down. Bang. Now, see how the LED went red? That's because we're in 3D mode. Flick to 6G. And the LED goes green. Now you can actually see the flashing when it's binding, and you can see the LED mode change colours through the glass screens as well, looking down on the fly barless. Overall, the LED setup on this is very nice, quite bright actually, and boy, tell you what, that headlight is seriously bright. At this stage, I haven't been able to figure out if there's any way to turn the LEDs off. It looks like that they are just on all the time. All right, the intelligent battery charging unit. It looks like a balance type charge setup, but there's something tricky going on in there. Definitely get 12.6 volts on a voltmeter. Then there's some additional signal going on in the center pin going into the battery I think telling the battery and that it's connecting to the charger or whatever. It's not a conventional balance situation in the base, it would seem. Battery also, they're like little push-in connectors. They actually all spring-loaded and they push over the teeth, and it's the same in the chassis. Now pop the screws out of the battery to have a bit of a look what's inside here. So basically there's a ribbon that just goes to the display and the on-off button and powers the spotlight. Then it's just a conventional LED battery, right? 4 leads, so plus two, you know, your 4, 8 and 12 volts coming out. So there's your negative and your 12.6 power supply, and then the other two obviously to balance the battery. So obviously I think the balance works off this board, but otherwise, so long as you could find a conventional battery, you could just solder something else in accordingly. Looks very much like the typical batteries that I actually fly in some of my planes, actually. 1300 3-cell, just like one of these. Looks pretty similar. Could you bypass it all? Well, that's something that we'll delve into at a later stage. Overall, it's a nice tidy way to package up the battery, protect everything, plugs in, away we go. The only thing I'm going to quiz the factory on at the moment is there doesn't seem to be a storage setting. It's either charge or that's it. The manuals are well presented, clear, easy to follow. Have all the basic information that you need to get flying with the helicopter. Information on the battery, its functions, how to use it. Information on how to bind. The basic settings in the radio, basic control functions, details on the flight board. All the switch instructions and everything else for the radio, the procedure for the swash leveling if you need to do that, and how you go about that, and the adjustment functions on the fly barless unit for the 3 adjustable pots, so you can adjust the sensitivity of response. Troubleshooting guide if you so need that. Exploded parts diagram, which is nice. The parts listing, and then photographs of all the spare parts items that are going to be available. Then there's a couple of pages in the back for you want to add your own handwritten notes and everything else. Overall, good job on the manual, guys. And then the E6 instruction manual as well works right through how the radio works in a lot more detail. Quite a good little manual, this, frankly. Tells you all the ins and outs of the settings on the radio, how to alter the settings, how to put in expos, all these sorts of things. Very clear, well written, easy to follow. So I think overall these guys have done a good job on the manuals supporting this product.